everybody. You know, I've been told I'm good at analogies, and it strikes me that so far this has felt like a wonderful church potluck social where nobody talks prior to the event, but somehow all the food complements one another really well. And I think you're going to see a line in my talk today that is drawn through everything you've seen previously. So let's get started. I guess you can see me all right, because I can't see you, but it's kind of important that you see me, because often when I meet people, they go, dude looks like this guy, Paul Schaefer. And yeah, I get that. And I kind of wince, not because I don't like Paul Schaefer, he's an incredibly creative and talented guy, but it's really kind of a shallow dive, isn't it? I mean, if it's a formula, it's like bald guy with glasses equals Paul Schaefer. And if that's the case, then I'm also this guy. And if that's the case, I'm also Beaky, the buzzard from the classic Warner Brothers cartoons. And the truth is, I'm none of those things. So you're probably sitting there going, what in the hell is he talking about? Well, I want to talk about being human in the digital age, and I have some real concerns because I think we're being so bombarded by imagery and content that we are pigeonholing one another and not really listening and getting to know people on the deepest level. So I've got some ideas to share with you today that I hope will help you with that. Let's talk about this guy, Marshall McLuhan. He was a pundit, critic, and book author starting in the 60s. And he coined the phrase, the medium is the message, which a lot of people were confused by, but what it actually meant was America in the 50s right up to the 80s was so punch drunk on television itself that people didn't really care what was on it. And a show about a bachelor and a talking horse could actually succeed in this marketplace. I mean, my God. But this is what a trade show looked like at that time. And, you know, so we were setting the lines pretty low there as well. You know, basically a table with some brochures to hand out and you're done. Now, when I entered the industry in the 90s, this was kind of still state of the art. You know, we didn't have computers, we didn't have engagements. Shame on us, we didn't talk about experiences. And we certainly weren't talking about brands at the level and depth that we do today. And then the Hollywood video wall arrives. And our clients come to us and they say, oh, we want one of those. We want one of those. And we said, well, you can have one of those, but they cost a lot of money. And they said, well, we've got bags of money out in the car. And we said, well, bring those bags in. And we said, when do we want those? When do you want this wall of video? And they said, well, how about tomorrow? And we said, well, that's going to take a lot of bags of money, but we'll do it tomorrow. And then we asked, what do you want to put on the video wall? And their reply was, what? They didn't have any idea of content. They were drunk on the new technology, way ahead of knowing what to do with it, and we're just now starting to catch up with that. So I'm here to say that I think we're getting past the joy of technology just for technology's sake, and we're at a really critical moment where we really need to connect the human experience and be smart about when we use technology and where we use it. Now in 2011, I had the great honor of hearing and meeting David Schwartz, who is the founder and partner of Hush, which is a really good digital agency in New York. You can find them on Hey Hush, and I encourage you creative types to really drink in their website. But he came forth with a real challenge to designers like myself and people who create content and create experiences. And it's a 5-point plan that if you take nothing else away from my talk, I hope this sticks with you. He said, let's be human. Let's create stories that engage people and bring out emotion and learning and celebrate how wonderful it is to be a human being. Let's be simple. And how ironic is it that it's really difficult to be simple as a designer? Let's be fun, let's feel interesting, and let's be diverse. So that's the foundation I'm going to build on in this talk. And let's start at the beginning. So this is a place called Newspaper Rock, which is in Utah, and archaeologists know that it was a major stopping point on a prehistoric trade route. And people would stop here, they'd get news, they'd leave messages for each other. They were walking thousands of miles, week by week, to connect with each other. My point is, it's in our DNA to make face-to-face connections and deeply get to know one another. Let's talk about this, Middle Ages. By this time, the world was full of village markets. Every culture, every country had them. And it was more about the connection, or as much about the connection, as selling stuff to each other. So take a look at that. Look familiar? That's where our DNA comes from, and that's why we're still surviving as an industry in a digital age where you can talk to anybody in real time, anywhere in the world. But people are still willing to get on planes, and some of them fly 12, 14 hours to connect with one another. What a huge responsibility that is for us as writers of content and designers. And things are, as wonderful as they are, there are also some big challenges. We can access nearly everything and everyone in seconds, but everyone has access to us too. We're connected to everyone we know globally, but many of us are less connected to the people that we live with. We've got our heads on the screen all the time. It takes discipline to get that out of there. Our clients want us to utilize state-of-the-art technology, but they still don't really know what to do with it. And they're getting better about content, but they need our help. We've got new breakthroughs at breakneck speed, but no time to really look at it and acknowledge it. Now look at this chart. My dad was born in 1920, which was put him somewhere in here. And you can visually see each change in aeronautical design looking at this chart. You can mark the timing of it. This is about 150 or 200 years worth of advancement. The same kind of timeline in the digital age looks like this. It's really hard for us to look at this graphic and get any kind of grasp about how fast and how wonderful this is that we're moving and creating new things at this speed. But we need to take that time. This is an amazing age we live in, and we need to appreciate it. So it's moving faster than our ability to legislate. We've got all kinds of issues now about texting in cars. We've got privacy issues, and poor decisions abound. Here's one of them. All right, let's connect the dots here. So you run for the Senate. Your name is Wiener, and you sexed somebody? I mean, what was he thinking of? Now, Sherry Turkle is a psychologist and sociologist and professor at MIT, and she's been connected to the digital world from the beginning. She remains enthused about it, but she also has some real worries. She says that what I've found after interviewing hundreds of people in all different age groups is that our devices are so psychologically powerful that they not only change what we do, they change who we are. Some of the things we do now with our devices are things that only a few years ago we would have found odd or disturbing. They quickly come to seem familiar, just how we do things now. So our devices are seductive, and the technology is moving so fast, we haven't created and had enough time to create social norms and mores to kind of govern what good behavior is, what human behavior is with this. And sometimes we're being human, or being at the expense of our humanity with technology. This chart just like blows my mind. So this is bad usages of technology. And start on the left-hand side. 9% of adults say that they're using technology during sex, smartphones. 35% we've already seen in the movie theaters. 33% on dinner dates. These people are probably wondering why they're still single. A child's school function, 55% while driving. I ride motorbikes. That just scares the bejesus out of me. 12% in the shower and 19% in the church place of worship. Excuse me. So let's talk about our process as designers. But I would say for you non-designers in the audience, this stuff should work for our lives as well. I believe humans have a deep desire to connect with one another in different ways and different levels, and we need to help with that. They want to be recognized, understood, and feel appreciated. And the best brands are connecting with their fans in a back and forth dialogue now. It's not one-sided anymore. That's a huge, huge change. Humans want to have a voice and be heard. They desire to be pleasantly surprised and delighted. And they want to have fun and share experiences with others. What great things for us to work with. So I'm saying these commonalities and the 5 steps I shared with you previously are what should be at the forefront of our thinking as we start designing. Now, for the students in the audience, you're probably frustrated architects like myself, and you're so excited to create the architecture. I still am excited by that, but it's more and more about the content and the connection with our audience. And it's going to be dragging the architecture after that, I believe. So this guy, Peter Skillman's an industrial designer, and he says, ultimately, tools and technology can give you the power to create mediocrity on a vast scale. And that's if we don't have that human piece dialed into it, don't know our audience. Our process takes discipline. Now, those of you who are working designers know that the schedule gets crowded and the timelines get shorter and shorter. But we have to create a discipline that slows us down to be very thoughtful about what we're doing and how we're engaging with our audiences. Many times it's going to be digitally, but other times it might be just a face-to-face greeting. Designers are storytellers. Let's tell great stories. And let's use architecture to illustrate them. Let's know our audience and slice them. And by that I mean, if you're doing a show for a group of doctors, there is some commonality about what they want to see and what they think about. But there's many different things going on within that audience, and we need to penetrate that as much as we can. We want to know what that audience thinks of each other. Are they social or siloed? If they're social, we got a great opportunity to let them talk amongst each other. What have they seen, and how can we take a simple idea and deeply connect with them? Let's ask smart questions. Let's be great listeners. This is hard, this next one for designers, because we let our egos get in the way, but great ideas can come from anywhere. And let's listen to other people and be ready to implement. And let's know when to use technology and when not to. This was a major fail I saw at CES 2014. And initially, we thought it was some kind of wonderful new robot. This thing was 6 feet tall, spinning around, making eye contact, engaging with people. And after a little bit, we realized it was a converted Segway with an actor in a suit. And it drew a big crowd, but one by one, you'd see that light go on, and people were like literally making faces. I watched him draw 3 crowds and lose them within 15 minutes. So the point is, set the right expectations and then deliver on them, or you're really going to alienate people. Am I going backwards? Yeah, I am. Now, Dean Kamen, oddly enough, the inventor of the Segway, says the design problem is no longer a question of what can we do. Now it's a question of what should we do. And what a great question that is. And how great that we have the tools to do things, but it's really putting a lot of responsibility on us. So in our solutions, let's be simple and accessible. Let's encourage conversation and connection. Let's talk with our audience, not at them. And let's design areas for dialogue to occur, both face-to-face and also virtual. Now, I talked about David Schwartz earlier. This is a piece that his group Hush did, which I just think is brilliant. So Kiko is an Italian company that makes a wide variety of products for toddlers and infants. And they weren't doing well in America because Americans didn't know how to pronounce their name partially. They thought it was Chico. And so they came up with the idea that your parents would film their toddler saying the phrase Kiko. You would then load it onto the Kiko website, and you'd be given a time and date that your child would actually appear on a big screen in Times Square. And across from that screen was a camera that would capture that in real time, and then you could go back to the website and fetch up the videotape of what was going on in Times Square when your child was on the board, and you could also print up a copy of it, and by the way, drive your friends and relatives to the website. To me, this is being human with digital at the greatest level. Now, some of you saw our booth at Exhibitor, and we won Best of Show for a coffee house, basically. But I think the reason we did was we made a human connection. You can see in the upper right-hand corner, it's very clearly a coffee house. So people knew what was going to happen, and we delivered on that premise. We didn't preach to them or try and sell. We sat down and had coffee and talked. And we kept the human element. Everybody working that booth was connected to our company, including the baristas. And the gentleman on the lower left is Mark Schulte, one of our designers from our San Francisco office. Here's a great human connection. It's our group participating in the Ice Bucket Challenge. Simple idea, really resonates with people, really worked well. How about a free performance drivers clinic, which Volkswagen gave to me when I bought a new Volkswagen? They sent out a catered meal and drivers, trained racing drivers, to help me drive better. We did an exhibit for rock climbing wall for hemophiliacs. The medication is such now that these kids can live normal lives. And you should have seen them on the climbing wall. They were being able to be kids. Just wonderful. Let's feel visually interesting. And I want to talk, tip my hat to Mitchell Mock, our speaker today. This is a booth he did, I want to say 14 years ago, that I think does all these things. It's simple. He's abstracting the area that the product Rock Shocks for mountain bikes plays out on. And cleverly, I mean, how do you show a part that isn't the whole bike? He had them made in plexi, the frames, and then the parts that are in color are the Rock Shocks pieces. And then he demonstrated their action by using a conveyor belt with rocks bolted to them so you could actually see that action. Isn't that much more interesting than watching that on a video? I mean, that might work in another scenario, but very clever. Let's party. Let's use these items: architecture, color, motion, lighting, engaging content, technology, conversation, and hospitality to have fun everywhere we can. People are getting on planes, let's really deliver. So where are we now? 2015. Marshall McLuhan's dead, the medium's no longer the message. I'm going to say content is starting to be the king. Everybody is ADD. We're being barraged by imagery, so we as content developers need to be really succinct. We need to slow down and celebrate, and we need the discipline to connect on deeper levels, with or without devices. Our clients are more sophisticated. Many of them want to be part of the process. They're willing to give up large portions of their days, but we can't waste that time. And we need to treat them both as a valued friend and as somebody we've never met, because brands are in motion all the time, and we can't assume if we haven't talked to them in 3 months that they're the same place they were then. Now, Danica gave me this, and I think it resonates. How distant have we all truly become to believe that the only things that make us feel like we are a part of each other's lives are the machines we created that drift us all further apart? These are kind of funny. On the left, the guy's on the phone with his daytimer, and he says, "No, Thursday's out. How about never? Is never good for you?" Big disconnect. And I'm over time going to get the bum rush out the door, so I'll finish with this. Sherry Turkell sums it up by saying, "I'm not suggesting that we turn away from our devices, just that we develop a more self-aware relationship with them and with each other and with ourselves." And that's what I'm suggesting as well. Thank you.